Welcome to What's Your Signal, the podcast exploring enterprise networking trends and the secure connectivity that underlies it all. You're joined by me, Taylor Walker, and my co-host, Mauricio Stefan. How's it going, Mauricio?
How's it hanging, Tyler?
Did I throw you off?
No.
Okay. It's hard to throw you off. What is throwing me off, though, I will say, is that the holiday season is already upon us again, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I swear it's still May or June. The year has just flown by.
That's what I'm saying. And one thing, though, that I like about the holidays is it's very nostalgic. And one of my favorite little traditions is Christmas stockings, which I say that's my tradition, but I think pretty much everybody does stockings. And when I was a kid, my favorite stocking stuffers were definitely 90s classics like Mad Lib books and Dr. Pepper lip smackers. But now as an adult, a stocking full of gift cards is the dream. Make a note, Santa. How about you? What did you like in your stockings?
Well, when I was a kid, it was, the same kind of 90s classic stuff, right? You remember Mad Magazine, going all the way back. Today, it sounds a little, trite, and I'm going to do something that people who are just listening can't see. But my favorite thing for stocking stuffers is funny socks. So I have my Groku socks on today, and so since COVID, since we don't come to the office anymore, I don't get a chance to wear my funny socks as often as I used to.
Well, I can confirm that he is indeed wearing funny socks, and Mauricio, you're truly a treasure in so many ways. But we're not the only people who love small, power-packed treats. IT pros deserve fun little gifts too. So today we've invited our friend Michelle Obrochta on the podcast to help explain a few enterprise networking extras that can help save IT teams and their organizations a lot of time and often a lot of money. Michelle is the Director of Product Management for Ericsson NetCloud, and we're excited to have her on. So, Michelle, first things first, what's your favorite item to pull out of a Christmas stocking?
One thing that's consistent every year is I get new pairs of socks. And I look forward to it every single year.
You and Mauricio have that in common. Do you get fun socks? Because he was bragging about fun socks. Or are all socks fun?
I guess, what's the definition of a fun sock, Mauricio?
I am wearing my Grogu socks today.
Which ones?
My Grogu socks.
Oh.
So, Baby Yoda.
I will say that mine are not fun then. No, they're pretty standard.
Okay, so you help oversee Ericsson NetCloud. Can you just briefly explain what NetCloud is all about?
Yeah. NetCloud was born about 10 years ago, and it was born to help manage the network for our customers. So it is a user interface that you can log in and manage your network, but you can also use APIs to extend that into your business. And it also includes, we have NetCloud mobile applications that you can download to assist in different elements of the installation. So kind of covers an umbrella of anything, of all the data and functionality of our solutions.
So I'm sure that with NetCloud, like on any platform, there's probably features that people are using all the time, daily, they're super familiar with. But then I'm sure there's plenty of features that get overlooked. So kind of like the little things that we get in our stockings, you sometimes just get those little things and you're like, oh, it's fun, whatever, and you move on. But they can be really powerful. And so we want to talk a little bit about some of those things that exist in NetCloud. And we're kind of framing them as IT stocking stuffers. And so I'm hoping that you can tell us a little bit about what each of those things are and why they're so useful. I've made a little bit of a list for us to go through. So let's start with cellular health. So what is cellular health?
Cellular health really allows the customer to understand the status of the carrier network of their choice on specific devices or their entire account. Cellular networks in general could get complex, and we try to make it easy for customers to understand in one glance. Is that network doing well or is it not? So really kind of trying to save different steps that a customer has to take to kind of get down to, is this device okay or not?
That makes sense. So I'm thinking from a stocking stuffer point of view, this is if you were to get the ever exciting thermometer in your stocking. Or you recently told me about a type of thermometer I had not heard of before. What was it? It was like
It's called a meter. Yes, and they use it to, it allows you to, from Bluetooth, so they're using better technology to when you're cooking your meats, smoking your meats, you can actually just look on an app on your phone to see, how much longer do I have or when should I pull it out to rest. But I think the goal of that, kind of to your point, we went from a thermometer to this kind of more technology-based, Bluetooth, just, again, to save people time. They're not constantly walking in and out trying to, test the temperature of the meat. So I guess it's a good comparison.
So meat and NetCloud, same. If you understand meat, you're going to understand NetCloud. So from cellular health, there's also cellular health events. How is that different, or what is that?
It's just a part of it. So cellular health, or we kind of bucketize that in just kind of this generality of cellular intelligence in our platform. We're constantly thinking of how to display the best data that a customer may need, again, to get to root cause in the fastest way. So cellular health is part of that. And then this new functionality called events is we're now displaying in a single view and a time series view when a carrier and on that network has either changed the band on your device or it has switched a cell tower. And so again, it's just feeding you data to try to better understand what may have occurred when your performance is degrading. But either way, it's, to your point, it's an event that happens, whether that impacted the performance or not. There's not really there's so many variables that it's not a one-to-one kind of look. It's just rich data.
That makes sense. Okay, one of these other little stocking stuffer, like IT stocking stuffers that's in NetCloud is WAN uptime. So how is this kind of like tasty little treat for IT?
It's, again, part of our cellular intelligence. I think we all remember when 5G we called it the pathway to 5G. We saw 5G coming. We were trying to prepare for 5G. 5G here is here now. But now we're talking about 5G standalone versus kind of going between 4G and 5G. So this kind of WAN uptime not only provides you information when your network is up or down, but it's also going to show you what kind of service type that you're getting off of those devices. Is it 4G? Is it 5G? Is it 5G standalone? So again, kind of going back to the data point, it's just giving you as much data for your customers to really understand what's going on with their network and what kind of connection they're receiving.
One that we had down here was quality of experience. And this is a term that I hear all the time, but tell me a little bit about how this might be like a small feature in NetCloud that is maybe overlooked sometimes, but is really helpful.
Yeah, I'm actually speaking with one of the individuals who kind of where this was born, which is Mauricio. But I would agree, this is such a valuable data information that we provide our customers that sometimes gets overlooked or hidden. But it is what it says. We are giving you data of the quality of the actual experience of the user. So let's take this podcast as an example. Right now, everything's going really well. I can hear you well. I can talk. I think I'm not echoing or I'm not freezing, hopefully. But either way, our connection's great. Now, if it was the complete opposite, my experience as a user just went down the drain. And that could mean a lot of things. But what quality of experience really gives you is that data. I was using this application at this time, and my latency was just horrible. So again, rich data, all focused on very particular things. But if you had to ask me, I think when we speak with customers and partners, they always want to know what's going to be the experience of, the person on my team that's actually using the network. And this particular piece of analytics that we provide is going to hopefully give you a better picture of what that is.
Plus, it's so difficult to troubleshoot those kind of things, right? Because when the user calls the IT admin, whoever it is, all he's going to say is Teams sucks. Like, I was just on a call and it dropped and it froze. Yeah. And so, like, there's no, other than their experience, there's no data there. And it could be anything between their laptop, the Wi-Fi connection between their laptop and the router, or something going on with the router itself, or the internet connection from the router. And so, having those tools that provide that level of visibility just makes going from Teams sucks to how to fix the problem so much easier.
I would actually say it gives you reality, kind of like what that actual experience is.
Quality of experiences like the IT mood ring. That's what I'm gonna say. It's like, are we good? Are we green? Are we purple? How are we feeling? So carrier selection intelligence is a lot of syllables, but also I think something small that packs a punch. What does that do for IT folks and for customers?
Yeah, to your point, because it's a lot of syllables, this puts us in that bucket where we always are using acronyms all over the place. So oftentimes you'll hear our teams reference this as CSI, which kind of gives it a different mood and different vibe. But either
crime scene.
Yeah. But it's kind of doing something like that for your customers. It's very hard to choose one particular carrier to feed all the needs of all your different locations. And so, especially when you're deploying devices, no one wants to spend time installing and deploying these devices. No one wants an extra person going out, installing and testing these devices. So what carrier selection intelligence allows the customer to do automatically is set the parameters of what you want the performance of your carrier network to look like. I want my downlink to be X. I want my uplink to be Y. And what it's going to do on your single modem, if you have two different carriers, is it's going to test in that particular location where it is installed in that building or outside the building and say, this SIM meets your parameters better than this other SIM, so we've kept this as your primary. And not only does it solve the pain point of constantly having to have people out there testing all these different carriers, but it also saves money. You're paying for two carriers just so you can feel confident that whatever you're deploying is going to have a good connection. And so we're kind of setting that confidence for you based off your parameters as a customer.
Yeah, I think, when you go to do installs, right, people have a tendency to check carrier maps, and, every carrier has, pretty good coverage everywhere, but it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't take into consideration the actual things that are going on in that location, right? Are there buildings in between you and the tower? Is it a high pedestrian area that has a lot of congestion, et cetera, et cetera? So, having the ability to test just right there in network on device is key.
Yep.
Mauricio, you said carrier maps, but I think one of the other, which I think a lot of people are familiar with carrier maps, coverage maps, though, might be a little bit of a smaller feature, something that's in NetCloud that can help in terms of cellular health. How are the coverage maps used? What are people seeing when they're...
Yeah, when I initially think of coverage maps, I think of when I got I had to be on my own cellular account when I went to college, got kicked off by my parents, had to get on my own. And I was with a particular carrier that, I had on on the family account. But when I left the state to a different city, that carrier, unfortunately, was not prominent in that particular coastal area. And so what did I do? I go online and I try to check these maps on the carrier to kind of see what they're telling, everyone. Like, this is where we have really good coverage and this is where we don't. When we thought of that and when we took that into consideration, we had a primary use case, and that was mobile. And because we were just previously talking about a device just sitting in a building or in a particular corner. With mobile, you're going all over the place. And so you may run into the situation I ran into. So we do have just this really robust functionality in NetCloud where it shows you, one, where everywhere you went, but not only that, it's going to tell you, was my signal strength great or was it really poor? And so not only does that kind of give clarity, but it also allows the IT team, I'm getting a lot of support calls from this particular driver. Maybe I need to consider, based off this coverage map, we might need to consider a different or multiple carriers, multiple modems, multiple carriers for where they're driving around. We still have big pockets of rural areas where it's very hard to get service. And so having kind of that failover carrier option, you can actually see that on the map.
That's awesome. Talking about those maps, just your story, I worked at AT&T during the time when it was like map wars. Like I just remember every store had like the big coverage map and it was always like comparing it to everybody else and all the commercials were like a map. Like I remember those days.
Those days are still here.
They
and
are.
Now 5G and 5G standalone. So those doors I don't see stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, it's such a bummer, I'm sure, to be in like as they keep getting filled in and filled in and filled in, like to be in just one little pocket of like no color, you know, and then you're like, why me?
I don't get service every weekend when I go camping and it's glorious.
That's true. That is true.
I try to find those pockets, Taylor.
So one of the other things that we had on our list when we're talking about these kind of like IT style stocking stuffers was faults, which I think is kind of an AI feature. Is that right? Or tell me about that.
Yeah. This actually has to do with our security portfolio. And we offer a service gateway with our security functionality. And what's great about what our AI ops team have done is they understand the purpose of understanding a baseline. And what a baseline is when you install it for the first time, what's my RF profile, alphabet soup, RSRP, RSRQ, et cetera, what's my latency in that moment of time of initial install. Then after time, that's going to fluctuate. That's just how carrier networks work. And that's very common. But it could create this anomaly of what your latency is, as an example, from what you originally had. And those are considered faults. And so our AI is capturing when those occur, and it's giving you an output of what they consider a quote unquote fault. There's still today, we're still feeding this AI animal. And so you, as a customer, have they have an ability to participate in that, which is saying, okay, you said this was a fault, but actually I don't consider this a fault. And you have the option to participate in teaching our AI. So that's kind of show you how fresh it is, but it's a really great step forward.
So many of these features that we're talking about, they essentially are like a find and explain is kind of like, they all have that same theme where it's like discover and analyze. And they're just making me think of it's like stud finder qualities. I just remember like my dad getting a stud finder in his stocking and just, doing the classic dad thing, like putting it on himself, found one.
A stud finder doesn't work unless you hold it up to yourselves and it beeps first.
That's true. Just like tongs don't work unless you click them.
Unless you click them first. Tape measure won't work unless you expand it and let it retract a couple of times before you measure anything. It's not accurate if you don't do that.
Yeah.
Mauricio is also the guy that's like patting bags of soil at every Lowe's and Home Depot. He's giving him a good pat.
I'm looking on watermelons in the grocery store. So.
Hey, every time I strap something down on the truck, I gotta flick the strap and go, that's not going anywhere. Otherwise, it's gonna fail. Like it's just gonna happen.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. Okay, so speaking of AI, one of the other like little features is Anna. Who is Anna? What does she do? Why do we care?
Anna is the representation today of our AI operations that we're doing. So she's still learning. She learns from our documentation. She learns from our data. And we hope that she will eventually be able to proactively provide you, based off of the data we have and the trends that we see, that something is leading up to something that occurred previously that may cause an outage, may cause a degradation in the performance of the network. So we're definitely future thinking, but I think that's how all AI may work, is you need to teach it before it really understands what to spit out. So this was what we mentioned around faults. That's the initial, but like the cellular health that we talked about in the beginning, we're collecting all that data too, and Anna's learning. So we're just really excited to be more intelligent around the cellular, because you mentioned it around the stud finders. Our whole goal is, can you get to the root cause of a problem or a concern the quickest? So we're trying, data is so expensive in general that we want to use it with purpose. And so that's what we're doing with our AI ops, is trying to use our data as a purpose for our future and kind of shrinking the amount of time it takes to troubleshoot.
Michelle, you work with Anna and with that platform. Does it remind you at all of like Tamagotchis? Did you ever have a Tamagotchi?
Well, I had a Tamagotchi. I was very bad at Tamagotchi. But you have to remember, when I was Tamagotchi, I was in like grade school. So
yeah,
you were sneaking in the desk trying to feed a cat. But I would say to your point, you have to continue to feed Anna in order for her to get smarter and be more mature and, robust. And so that's a journey we're taking.
That's awesome. So a lot of these things, okay, so we've kind of gone through this list of little, like we keep saying, stocking stuffers for IT, but what they are just like these smaller features that sometimes customers don't explore, or they don't utilize, or maybe they don't even know that they're there. So I guess a bigger question I have for you is, if customers aren't using these things, are they still getting the full picture? Or like, what are they missing out on by leaving these features out?
Data. I mean, I think every company, they are just eager for as much data for their own needs, for their own trends, or just one element that a customer may have of multiple vendors. And my belief is, if they're taking advantage of all this data that we're giving them, that's going to assist with all their other vendors. And so being able to correlate and cross-reference that type of data. So honestly, I believe that's the biggest thing that's being missed, is knowing how much data you actually have access to.
When you have access to that kind of data, what kind of benefits have you seen? Is it like monetary benefits? Is it mostly just time? Is it employment? How are companies benefiting from having all that data and using it correctly?
I would absolutely say monetary and time. When you understand the network, how you need to understand it, you don't need to get into the nitty-gritties, but if you understand it with the data and the way that we present it to you, you're going to save money on time. So, I mean, they come hand in hand. So it's not like you're spending more money, you're saving money. And you're also not the one collecting the data, which is also saving you money. We're collecting on behalf of our customers, and we're giving it to you in a single pane of glass. Through our APIs, you can feed it into your existing operational business steps. So, I mean, you could save time, which ultimately saves you money.
I just think even in time alone, I always hear the term like swivel chair, right, from an IT perspective.
It's a real thing. I mean, again, when you're working with multiple, and even though it might be not like legitimate, like literally swiveling your chair, it's either tab 1 and tab 10 and tab 3 and tab 11, and you're switching between your different vendors. It's and then having to view that in a way where you're trying to make it make sense. And so it's reality at this moment. So we take those into consideration.
So, Michelle, you've worked for now Ericsson Enterprise Wireless for a long time. What do you think is the best gift that we can give to IT teams?
NetCloud. But I think you already said it. Time and data. I mean, those are both very valuable and very expensive. So I believe we're continuously giving that back to our customers and partners. And we haven't lost focus there, hence the kind of AI journey we talked about.
Absolutely. Well, Michelle, thanks for chatting with us about this little bite-sized episode of Stocking Stuffers, IT Stocking Stuffers. It's been fun to talk through the little things that actually mean like so much that makes such a big difference. So thanks so much for joining us. Mauricio, when we asked Michelle the best gift for IT teams, I was a little bit disappointed that she didn't say something about like a Star Wars mug or like a Lego set or...
Well, you know, it's typically the IT uniform is pretty good, right? So khakis and a polo and tennis shoes. Fun socks, right? Because, you know, you got to stick it to the man any way you can, right? So, you know, got to wear those funny dress socks. But no, right? I think she really hit the nail on the head, right? Is like the biggest thing that challenges IT teams is the number of people on the team and the amount of time that they have in a day to do things. And so, you know, really what IT teams want for Christmas is either more people or have the tools be able to work for them so that they can really spend time on the things that they need to focus on, which is, you know, improving their networks, you know, rolling out new applications that make life easier for the business and their users, not having to focus on troubleshooting problems. And so, you know, I think eventually, Michelle kind of touched on this a little bit, is eventually the goal for NetCloud Manager is to, you know, make it take action on behalf of the user and be proactive so that it doesn't wait for something to go wrong. It notifies you that, hey, something's trending in a bad direction and you should take a look at this before it's an outage or before it's a problem for your users.
One thing that I think is important too is I think so often additional features inside of a program are overlooked or not used because people may think, well, I don't have the time to learn how to use blah, blah, blah. But the reality is if they take the time to learn some of these small things or to poke around and figure out what some of these, you know, smaller features are, it will save them time in the long run. So that initial time investment is going to be a benefit for the whole team.
Yeah, 100%. I think even in your personal life, usually once you find a use case for an application and you buy the application, you hardly ever look to see what else the application could do. And you're right. Like if you invest that little bit of time, you may be surprised as to what else that application could do for you.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation about IT stocking stuffers, share it with a friend. Then rate and subscribe to What's Your Signal wherever you listen to podcasts.